Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. And okay, there it is. So, I didn't go live yesterday. I actually added something else to my plate, and by the time I got home, I was thawing out because I was so cold. By the time I got home, I was thawing out because I was so cold. I had to hop on because it was going to be late. So yesterday would have been 32, 33, and 34. But today we're going to read yesterday and today, which I'll probably end up doing today, which I'll probably end up doing more days, more often than not. Just, at this current, I be fighting through it, coming out when I be wanting to go lay down. I really do want to go to sleep sometimes. Like right now, I just finished eating, just made it home, and I kind of just want to go get into bed, but I'm not. I'm going to read. So, because I don't want to get in. So, we're going to start with Job 32, and I'm going to read out of the CSB Bible. And each one of these sections, I think, has a title. Well, no, the first one does. So Elihu is this new person that just popped up. And a little backstory, if you are not familiar with the book of Job. So Job is about the guy who was tried. He lost everything he had. Satan just really did. Satan just really did. Why can't I have a problem remembering that? What are they called? The angelic beings. I always forget that the angelic beings were assembled with God. They were I guess they were having like court or check-in time or something like that. And Satan was there. And Satan, the way that it's defined in the Bible in this particular verse, it means Satan was there. And Satan, the way that it's defined in the Bible in this particular verse, it means adversary. And so Satan, the adversary, was there. And the Lord asked Satan or Satan, where have you been? And he was like, I've been out roaming, trying to see what's out there, roaming to and fro. And so basically he was looking for somebody to mess with. And the Lord was like, well, have you considered my servant Job? And that's how it came about. So the Lord kind of included Job in this test. I guess it's not a test. I don't know what it was. I don't know what to consider it to be. But the Lord gave Satan permission to interfere with Job's life. And so the first thing that happened is that his livestock was killed, his oxen was killed, his wealth was basically taken away, and then his children were killed. They were out having a good old time, enjoying each other's company. And so that happened, and then Satan went back to where God was, and God was like, well, do with him as you will, but don't kill him. And so Satan went back, and he allowed Job's body to be consumed with boils, and he had all these sores all over his body. So we have read that chapter, and one thing to remember is that the Lord said that Job, he told Satan that Job was blameless and upright. And Satan was like, well, the only reason he's blameless and upright is because you have your hedge of protection around him, and because you have blessed him with all of these material things. But if you take the material things away, he's gonna curse you. And so Satan went out, he did his little do. He messed Job up. And so Job has 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. And so we've heard from them. They sat with him for 7 days in silence. They didn't say anything for 7 days. And then after the 7 days, they decided that they wanted to start being a therapist for Job. They decided that they wanted to start being a therapist for Job. They wanted what was taking place, why it took place. He was supposed to do. He was supposedly didn't give to the poor. He let his wealth go to his head. He wasn't helping the fatherless. He was mistreating. They just gave us all of these different thoughts or ideas that they had as to why. They just gave us all of these different thoughts or ideas that they had as to why Job was having to. He wasn't sinless, but he wasn't getting paid. This was not his pay for his behavior or his misdeeds or whatever. All right, so now we're in chapter 32, and in my Bible is titled Elihu's Angry Response. So Elihu is a new person. We have not heard from Elihu. But like I say, Job has been going back and forth with his friends. They have been offering their 2 cents. But like I say, Job has been going back and forth with his friends. They have been offering their 2 cents or what they feel like the Lord wants him to do. So now Elihu is this new character that we're finna hear from. And it says, so these 3 men quit answering Job because he was righteous in his own eyes. Then Elihu, son of Barachel, the Buzite from the family of Ram, became angry. He was angry at Job because he had justified himself rather than God. He was also angry at Job's 3 friends because they had failed to refute him and yet had condemned him. Now Elihu had waited to speak to Job because they were all older than he. But when he saw that the 3 men could not answer Job, he became angry. So we see here that Elihu is upset because Job's friends are not being good friends. So Elihu of Barachel, the Buzite, replied, I am young in years while you are old. Therefore I was timid and afraid to tell you what I know. I thought that age should speak and maturity should teach wisdom. But it is in the spirit of a person, the breath from the Almighty, that gives anyone understanding. It is not only the old who are wise, or the elderly who understand how to judge. Therefore I say, listen to me. I too will declare what I know. Look, I waited for your conclusions. I listened to your insights as you sought for words. I paid close attention to you. Yet no one proved Job wrong. I paid close attention to you. Yet no one proved Job wrong. Not one of you refuted his arguments. So do not claim we have found wisdom. Let God deal with him, not man. But Job has not directed his argument with wisdom. Let God deal with him, not man. But Job has not directed his argument to me, and I will not respond to him with your arguments. So he's expressing his disgust with the friends not giving Job good counsel. Job's friends are dismayed and can no longer answer words left them. Should I continue to wait now that they are silent, now that they stand there and no longer answer? I too will answer, yes, and my spirit compels me to speak. My heart is like unvented wine. It is about to burst like new wineskin. So he's like, there's so many things that I've been wanting about to burst like new wineskin. So he's like, there's so many things that I've been wanting to say. I just been waiting. I've been waiting on them to shut up so I can say what's on my mind, because I know what's going on, and eventually we'll find out that he don't know what's going on either. I must speak so that I can find release. He got to let it go. I mean, he has to get this off of his chest because it's bothering him so much. I must open my lips and respond. I will be partial to no one, and I will not give anyone the undeserved title. It's bothering him so much. I must open my lips and respond. I will be partial to no one, and I will not give anyone the undeserved title. For I do not know how to give such titles, otherwise my maker would remove me in an instant. Okay, so that was chapter 32. Again, we have a new character on the scene, and his name is Elihu. And apparently he is just some young boy situation, and he has examined it for himself, and now he has some words that he needs to express, because apparently situation, and he has examined it for himself, and now he has some words that he needs to express, because apparently sincerity, what they know. The Spirit of God has made me, and the breath of the Almighty gives me life. Refute me if you can. Prepare your case against me. Refute me if you can. Prepare your case against me. Take your stand. I am just like you before God. I was also pinched off from a piece of clay. Fear of me should not terrify you. No pressure from me should weigh you down. Surely you have spoken in my hearing, and I have heard these very words. I am pure, without transgression. I am clean, and have no iniquity. But he finds reason to oppose me. He regards me as his enemy. He puts my feet in the stocks. He stands watch over all my paths. But he finds reason to oppose me. He regards me as his enemy. He puts my feet in the stocks. He stands watch over all my paths. But I tell you that you are wrong in this matter, since God is man. Why do you take him to court for not answering anything a person asked? So Elihu was like, Job, why are you still trying to claim that you are this righteous person when you're not? So he's saying that Job is not, I guess, telling the truth about his stance on being pure and, not being in transgressions. But even the Lord said that Job was blameless and upright. So Elihu is really off on the wrong foot again. But I tell you that you are wrong in this matter, since God is greater than man. Why do you take him to court for not answering anything a person asks? For God speaks time and again, but a person may not notice it. In a dream, a vision, in the night, when deep sleep comes over people as they slumber on their beds, he uncovers their ears and terrifies them with warnings in order to turn a person from his actions and suppress the pride of a person. Now, that part is true. The Lord can speak to you through a dream, a vision. He spoke to Solomon in a dream. He's spoken to so many people in the Bible in a dream, which is why it's important for you to not agree with things in your dream. And if you did, come out of agreement with them. God spares his soul from the pit, from his life from crossing a river of death. A person may be disciplined on his bed with pain and constant distress in his bones, so that he detests bread. And his soul despises his favorite food. His flesh wastes away to nothing, and his unseen bones stick out. He draws near to the pit, and his life to the executioners. If there is an angel on his side, one mediator out of 1,000, to tell a person what is right for him, and to be gracious to him and say, spare him from going down to the pit. I have found a ransom. Then his flesh will be healthier than in his youth, and he will return to the days of his youthful vigor. He will pray to God, and God will delight in him. That person will see his face with a shout of joy, and God will restore his righteousness to him. He will look at men and say, I have sinned and forget what I deserve. He redeemed my soul from going down to the pit, and I will continue to see the light. God certainly does all these things 2 or 3 times to a person in order to turn him back from the pit, so he may shine with the light of life. Pay attention, Job, and listen to me. Be quiet, and I will speak. But if you have something to say, answer me. Speak, for I would like to justify you. If not, then listen to me. Be quiet, and I will teach you wisdom. So Elihu here is a very bold individual, even though, some of the stuff that he's saying is not true. Um, he believes that it's true, and he expects Job to listen to his wisdom because, as we remember, he said that he was wise, and his friends were aged. Then Elihu continues saying, "Hear my words, when you wise ones, and listen to me, you knowledgeable ones. Doesn't the ear taste words and the palate taste food? Let us judge for ourselves what is right. Let us decide whether what is good. For Job has declared, I am righteous, yet God has deprived me of justice. Would I lie about my case? My wound is incurable, though I am without transgression. What man is like Job? He drinks derision like water. He keeps company with evildoers and walks with wicked men. For he has said, a man gains nothing when he becomes God's friend. Therefore, listen to me, you men of understanding. It is impossible for God to do wrong, and for the Almighty to act unjustly, as he repays a person according to his deeds, and he gives him what his conduct deserves. So, God to do wrong, and for the Almighty to act unjustly, as he repays a person according to his deeds, and he gives him what his conduct deserves. So, yes, what we do deserve. I think I said that right. So they go hand in hand. And he's saying, that God always gives us what we deserve when we do wrong. If that was the case, and this is just from my understanding of what I just read, of what I read, if that is the case, then there's no mercy, because by definition, mercy is what keeps us from getting what we do. By definition, mercy is what keeps us from getting what we do deserve. Let's see. Keeps us from getting what we do deserve. Let's see. And withdrew the spirit and gave every living thing mankind will return to the dust. That is very true. If the Lord decides to our time is up, our time is up. If you have understanding, hear this. They are all the works of his hands, and that is very true. God made us all. They are all the works of his hands, and that is very true. God made us all. He made the rich person. He made the rich person. He made the poor person. He made all of us. For their night, people shudder, then pass away. Even the mighty are removed without his hands. They die suddenly in the middle of the night. People shudder, then pass away. Even the mighty are removed without, for his eyes watch over a man's ways, and he observes all his steps. Evildoers can hide. God does not need to examine a person further, that one should approach him in court. He shatters the mighty without an investigation and sets others approach him in court. He shatters the mighty without an investigation and sets others in their place. He strikes them for their wickedness, because they turned aside from following him and did not understand any of his ways, but caused the poor to cry out to him, and he heard the outcry of the needy. But when God is silent, who can declare him guilty? When he hides his face, who can see him? Yet he watches over both individuals and nations, so that godless men should not rule or ensnare the people. Suppose someone says to God, I have endured my punishment. I will no longer act wickedly. Teach me what I cannot see. If I have done wrong, I won't do it again. Should God repay you on your terms when you have rejected his? You must choose, not I. So declare what you know. Reasonable men, as men who hear me. Job speaks without knowledge. His words are without insight. If only Job were tested to the limit, because his answers are like those of wicked men. For he adds rebellion to his sin. He scornfully claps in our presence while multiplying his words against God. Yeah, he is still contending that Job is not admitting that he is a sinner and at fault. Then he is still contending that Job is not admitting that he is a sinner and at fault. Then Elihu continues saying, do you think it is just when you say, I am righteous before God? For I ask, what does it profit you? And what benefit comes to me if I do not sin? I will answer you and your friends with you. Look at the heavens and see. Gaze at the clouds high above you. If you sin, how does it affect God? If you multiply your transgressions, what does it do to him? If you are righteous, what do you give him? Or what does he receive from your hand? Your wickedness affects a person like yourself, and your righteousness a son of man. People cry out because of severe oppression. They shout for help because of the power of the mighty. But no one asks, where is God, my maker, who provides us with songs in the night, who gives us more understanding than the animals of the earth, and makes us wiser than the birds of the sky? There they cry out, but he does not answer because of the pride of evil people. Indeed, God does not listen to empty cries, and the Almighty does not take note of it. How much less when you complain that you do not see him? In your case, it is before him, and you are waiting for him. But now, because God's anger does not punish, and he does not pay attention, and you are waiting for him. But now, because God's anger does not punish, and he does not pay attention to transgression, Job opens his mouth in vain and multiplies words without knowledge. So he's saying that, Job really needs to change his belief on why he's going through what he's going through. Then Elihu continues saying, be patient with me a little longer, and I will inform you, for there is still more to be said on God's behalf. So he's claiming that God has spoken to him and told him to tell Job and his friends all of this, but I don't know. But it's wrong. Like not a lot of stuff that he's saying is incorrect. I will get my knowledge from a distant place, and ascribe justice to my maker. Indeed, my words are not false. One who has complete knowledge is with you. So sometimes, the Bible says, and read, basically to show yourself approved. So it is important that, people, when you don't just read this right now, grab the Bible and read yourself. I'm reading from the grab the Bible and read yourself. I'm reading from the, what is this? The Christian Standard Bible, but read for yourself. Don't just let people tell you stuff about God. You have to learn to grow your relationship and have your own relationship with God, because there's a lot of misleading out here in the world, and just because a person goes to church, just because they, have reverend or pastor or whatever in front of their name, does not mean that they are trustworthy and that the Lord is using them. Just want to put that out there. Indeed, my words are not false. One who has complete knowledge is with you. So he's saying, yes, God is, he understands all things, but he does not keep the wicked alive, but he gives justice to the oppressed. He does allow the wicked to be alive in hopes that they will turn from their wicked ways. He does not withdraw his gaze from the righteous, but he seats them forever with enthroned kings, and they are exalted. If people are bound with chains and trapped by the cords of affliction, God tells them what they have done and how arrogantly they have transgressed. He opens their ears to correction and tells them to repent from iniquity. If they listen and serve him, they will end their days in prosperity and their years in happiness. But if they do not listen, they will cross the river of death and die without knowledge. Those who have a godless heart harbor anger, even when God binds them. They do not cry for help. They cry and they die in their youth. Their life ends among male cult prostitutes. God rescues the afflicted by their affliction. He instructs them by their torment. Indeed, he lured you from the jaws of distress to a spacious and unconfined place. Your table was spread with choice food. You are now you are obsessed with the judgment due to wicked. Judgment and justice have seized you. Be careful that no one lures you with riches. Do not let a large ransom lead you astray. Can your wealth or all your physical exertion keep you from distress? Do not long for the night when nations will disappear from their places. Be careful that you do not turn to iniquity, for that is why you have been tested by affliction. Look, God shows himself exalted by his power. Who is a teacher like him? Who has appointed his way for him? And who has declared, you have done wrong? Remember that you should praise his work, which people have sung about. All mankind has seen it. People have looked at it from a distance. Yes, God is exalted beyond our knowledge. The number of his years cannot be counted. For he makes water drops evaporate. They distill the rain into its mist, which the clouds pour out and shower abundantly on mankind. Can anyone understand how the clouds spread out, or how the thunder roars from God's pavilion? See how he spreads his lightning around him and covers the depths of the sea. For he judges the nations with these. He gives food in abundance. He covers his hands with lightning and commands it to hit its mark. The thunder declares its presence, the cattle also, the approaching storm. So now he's talking about how great God is, because God is great. Chapter 37. This is going to be the last chapter. I'm trying to hold this. My heart pounds at this and leaps from my chest. Just listen to his thunderous voice and the rumbling that comes from his mouth. He lets it loose beneath the entire sky, his lightning to the ends of the earth. Then there comes a roaring sound. God thunders his majestic voice with his majestic voice. He does not restrain the lightning when his rumbling voice is heard. God thunders wondrously with his voice. He does great things that we cannot comprehend. For he says to the snow, fall to the earth, and the torrential rains. He does great things that we cannot comprehend. For he says to the snow, fall to the earth, and the torrential rains. His mighty torrential rains is a high sign to all mankind, so that all men may know his work. The wild animals enter their lairs and stay in their dens. The windstorm comes from its chamber, and the cold from the driving north winds. Ice is formed by the breath of God, and watery expanses are frozen. He saturates clouds with moisture. He scatters his lightning through them. They swirl about, turning around and around in his direction, accomplishing everything he commands them over the surface of the inhabited world. He causes this to happen for punishment for his land or for his faithful love. Listen to this, Job. Stop and consider God's wonders. Do you know how God directs his clouds or makes their lightning flash? Do you understand how the clouds float? Those wonderful works of him who has perfect knowledge. You whose clothes get hot when the south wind brings calm to the land. Can you have God spread out the skies as hard as a cast metal mirror, not iron? No one can even look at the sun when it is in the skies. After a wind has swept through cleared the clouds away. Yet out of the north he comes, shrouded in a golden glow. Awesome majesty surrounds him. The Almighty, we cannot reach him. He is exalted in power and righteousness. Therefore men fear him. He does not look favorably on any who's wise in heart. So that was the last of chapter 37, and the last verse that was notated here says, it's the 34th verse. Elihu's final advice was to fear God. This is wise, as Job himself had admitted. But God does not favorably regard the person who is wise in heart, one who prides himself in having superior wisdom. True wisdom begins with reverential fear of God, who is wise in heart, one who prides himself in having superior wisdom. True wisdom begins with reverential fear of God. Elihu was from the beginning angry with Job because he believed that Job was self-righteous. Although Job feared God, he was playing God in his own life despite his constant acts of pity. Job had been certain of his righteousness, but he had failed to recognize God's essential justice and righteousness. Elihu's advice to Job was that he should truly fear and revere God and turn from his self-centeredness. Then he would understand both God's power and his moral integrity. Thus, Job would find God sufficient for his every trial. So basically, once again, we know, I got from these scriptures that God is in everything. He knows what is going on, like even when we don't know what is going on, and he is excited to he's excited to go through life with us. But we have to invite him in and allow him to be a part of our lives, because but we have to invite him in and allow him to be a part of our lives, because he ultimately knows what's best for us. Why? Because he made us, because he wrote a book about us. There's a book about us, and in the book it tells us everything that we need to know about how to live our lives. So yeah, that is it for tonight. I will talk to y'all. Huh? What? Why?
Just keep yapping.
Do we have any questions about the reading tonight? I saw somebody on here. I think they was begging for some Uber money. I'm not sure. I kind of glanced at it.
Yeah, somebody for Uber.
Oh, we don't need to go back. I'm not concerned with it. I think that this Job story is a very good story to consider when you feel like things are just happening and you don't know why. Because we feel like there has to be a reason why things happen to us, and sometimes it is because we have done something that we shouldn't be doing, but sometimes it's just because maybe the Lord and Satan had a conversation. Sometimes it's just because maybe the Lord and Satan had a conversation about you. And in all things, we just need to say, thank you, Jesus, for being here. Thank you that I'm still alive. Thank you that literally the storm don't last always, and that I will come out on the other side of it as long as I stay whole and keep holding on to you. And with that, I'm going to say good night. Bye.